The civil war in Yemen has claimed the lives of so many civilians. And as the conflict enters its 6th year, the reliance on humanitarian aid is more critical than ever before. The United Nations warns supplies are being cut or purposely held back. As Mike Armstrong reports, on top of famine and conflict, Yemen is also facing the pandemic.
There is no part of life in Yemen not affected by what the World Health Organization calls the catastrophic humanitarian disaster. For kidney dialysis patients, even sitting in the hospital hooked up to the dialysis machine doesn't mean safety. As soon as I get here, I face a bigger problem, this man says. The machine stops because there's no electricity. The problem is hospitals don't have fuel to run generators. The fuel shortage in Yemen is worsening by the day. Prices have doubled and fuel's being rationed. Drivers can spend not hours, but days in line to get their maximum 40 liters per week. How can I work, asks this taxi driver. How can I feed myself and my kids? Now, fuel imports have become a weapon in the 6-year conflict. Houthi rebels, backed by Iran, seized power in 2014. They control much of the northwest, while a Saudi-led coalition supporting the former government controls much of the rest. Well, 70% of the country's commercial goods come through a port city on the Red Sea controlled by the coalition. The Houthis say since the summer, even UN-cleared commercial ships are being held back as a form of economic warfare. Their response? The Houthis have closed the airport in the capital to UN and humanitarian flights. According to Oxfam, that's meant 200 metric tons of aid can't reach the people who need it. The UN this week called for the immediate reopening of the airport.
Well, things are very dire.
According to this Oxfam spokesperson, the situation in Yemen is worsening by the day. He says civilians have been stuck between two warring sides. 20 million people are now food insecure. In June, 28% of families in the Houthi-controlled areas didn't have enough to eat. Just 3 months later, that's up to 43%. The aid blocked at the airport is needed desperately.
There are many people who are in critical need for such assistance, and more delays would mean more people will lose their lives.
On top of the conflict, Yemen has one of the highest COVID-19 death rates in the world. The Red Cross did open a new COVID-19 clinic in the southern part of the country this week, but testing and reporting are low, and the healthcare system is on the verge of collapse. There's fear many are simply staying home, dying there, and their cases are going unreported. Mike Armstrong, Global News.